Bismillahir Rahmanir Rahim. We start in the name of God, the most compassionate, the most merciful. Assalamu alaikum. Peace be with you, Muslims, Christians, all members of the faith community, and everyone here with us this evening. I would like to request Maulana Rizwan Arastu to please come forward. Welcome to Baitul Ilm and our 2023 Interfaith Iftar dinner. My name is Hassan Dosani. I'm a proud member of the Baitul Ilm community and honored to be the MC for this evening. On behalf of the Baitul Ilm community, I would like to welcome all of you. We are blessed that so many of you are joining us this evening. I would like to thank each and every one of you for taking time out of your schedules and joining us as we break our fast this evening. For Muslims, Ramadan is a special month of the Islamic calendar. It is a time for inner reflection, contemplation, discipline, and devotion to God. And as we fast and sacrifice food and drink during the daylight hours, we are reminded of God's blessings upon us and are encouraged to be charitable. In that spirit, our Interfaith Iftar aims to extend that sense of community to our neighbors of all faiths. We have a brief program. We will begin with the recitation of a few verses from the Quran. That will be followed by brief messages from a few speakers. We will then conclude with a call for prayer and the Iftar dinner. To start the program, I would like to invite Brother Irtaza Haider to recite a few verses from the Quran.
Assalamu alaikum and hello everyone. I will be reciting a few verses from the Quran, chapter 19, Surah Maryam. أعوذ بالله من الشيطان الرجيم. بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم. واذكر في الكتاب مريم إذ انتبذت من أهلها مكانا شرقيا فاتخذت من دونهم حجابا فأرسلنا إليها روحنا فتمثل لها بشرا سويا قالت إني أعوذ بالرحمن منك إن كنت تقيا قال إنما أنا رسول ربك لأهب لك غلاما زكيا قالت أنى يكون لي غلام ولم يمسسني بشر ولم أك بغيا قال كذلك قال ربك هو علي هين ولنجعله آية للناس ورحمة منا وكان أمرا مقضيا فحملته فانتبذت به مكانا قصيا فأجاءها المخاض النخلة قالت يا ليتني مت قبل هذا وكنت نسيا منسيا فناداها من تحتها ألا تحزني قد جعل ربك تحتك سريا وهزي إليك بجذع النخلة تساقط عليك رطبا جنيا فكلي واشربي وقري عينا فإما ترين من البشر أحدا فقولي إني نذرت للرحمن صوما فلن أكلم اليوم إنسيا فأتت به قومها تحمله قالوا يا مريم لقد جئت شيئا فريا يا أخت هارون ما كان أبوك امرأ سوء وما كانت أمك بغيا فأشارت إليه قالوا كيف نكلم من كان في المهد صبيا قال إني عبد الله آتاني الكتاب وجعلني نبيا وجعلني مباركا أينما كنت وأوصاني بالصلاة والزكاة ما دمت حيا وبرا بوالدتي ولم يجعلني جبارا شفيا والسلام علي يوم ولدت ويوم أموت ويوم أبعث حيا ذلك عيسى ابن مريم قول الحق الذي فيه يمترون صدق الله العلي العظيم. In the name of Allah, the All-Beneficent, the All-Merciful. And mention in the book Mary when she withdrew from her family to an easterly place. Thus did she seclude herself from them, whereupon we sent to her our Spirit, and he became incarnate for her as a well-proportioned man, human. She said, I seek the protection of the All-Beneficent from you, should you be God-weary. He said, I am only a messenger of your Lord, that I may give you a pure son. She said, how shall I have a child seeing that no human being has ever touched me, nor have I been unchaste? He said, so shall it be. Your Lord says, it is simple for me, and so that we may make him a sign for mankind and a mercy from us, and it is a matter already decided. Thus she conceived him, then withdrew with him to a distant place. The birth pangs brought her to a trunk of a date palm. She said, I wish I had died before this and become a forgotten thing, beyond recall. Thereupon he called her from below her, saying, do not grieve. Your Lord has made a spring to flow at your feet. Shake the trunk of the palm tree. Freshly picked dates will drop upon you. Eat, drink, and be comforted. Then if you see any human say, indeed I have vowed a fast to the all-beneficent, so I will not speak to any human today. Then carrying him, she brought him to her people. They said, O Mary, you have certainly come up with an odd thing. O sister of Aaron, your father was not an evil man, nor was your mother unchaste. Thereat she pointed to him. They said, how can we speak to one who is yet a baby in the cradle? He said, indeed, I am a servant of Allah. He has given me the book and made me a prophet. He has made me blessed wherever I may be, and He has enjoined me to maintain the prayer and to pay the zakat as long as I live, and to be good to my mother, and He has not made me self-willed and wretched. Peace is to me the day I was born, and the day I die, and the day I am raised alive. That is Jesus, son of Mary, a word of the real concerning whom they are in doubt. Allah Almighty has spoken the truth. Salawat. Allahumma salli ala. Thank you.
Thank you, Brother Irtiza, for that beautiful recitation. Irtiza is a student at the Baitul Ilm Sunday School and a young and very engaged member of our community. And thank you everyone for listening to that recitation of the Quran. And now for the opening remarks, I would like to invite Brother Jawad Hussain. Brother Jawad Hussain is the chairman of the board of directors of Baitul Ilm.
Thank you, Brother Hassan. I wanted to welcome everyone with greetings of peace and blessings, and thank you all for joining us this evening. As Brother Hassan mentioned, my name is Jawad Hussain, and I am currently the chairman of the board of directors here at Baitul Ilm. And I wanted to once again welcome all of you. It's been a few years since we've had this program. This was a staple of our Ramadan programming for many years, but unfortunately COVID interrupted those plans, interrupted a lot of plans for a lot of people. And we didn't feel it was, we were ready in previous years to invite guests, but with the blessings of God and the ingenuity of mankind, we are in a better place than we were in the past. And so we're happy to have welcomed you all here once again. And I don't want to take too much of your time, but I did want to just give a little bit of an overview and maybe a brief history and how we fit into the community here at Baitul Ilm. And to make you aware, because for many of you, you might have been here before, you might know our history, you might have been partners with us for many years, but for many of you, this may be your first time here, you may not know that much. And so I want to make everyone a little bit acquainted with who we are, what we stand for, and what we are trying to accomplish here at this mosque. So just brief history, we were founded back in the early 2000s by Imam Faizi under his leadership. He helped to build this community, and we rented different places in the area. And then we finally settled on Streamwood as our home, and we purchased this property here. If many of you who might have been here for a long time know that it was a funeral home previously. And we purchased that in 2003 and started doing our activities and programs here. And as the community grew, we tried to grow with it, and we built this building here, this mosque here. We broke ground in 2008 and completed the building in 2011 and have been using this as our primary house of worship for the past 12 years. And recently, we actually expanded and started a new project, which is a full-time Montessori which is next door. The old funeral home has now been turned into a full-time Montessori. We currently have grades pre-K to third grade, and we will be expanding next year as well. We started in 2021, and so our community is growing and our services are growing to the community as well, and that has been a blessing over these 20 plus years. And so just a little bit about our mission and kind of what we try to do. First and foremost, we are a house of worship, and we primarily cater to the Muslim community and our Muslim community here. And what does that entail? That entails a few things. One, first and foremost, is to try to build knowledge about Islam. I don't know if there's any Arab speakers here amongst our guests, but the word Beit al-Ilm is actually two words in Arabic. First is Beit, which means house, and Ilm, which means knowledge. So it is a house of knowledge. And Imam Faizi's kind of core mission and teaching was to help bring the community up through knowledge, through learning, and then eventually, once we had that, to put it into practice amongst ourselves first within our community and build our community, and then to practice that outside and to be a contributor, a positive contributor to the broader community at hand, at large, especially in our surrounding areas, particularly Streamwood, Hoffman Estates, Bartlett, Elgin, all of these communities that are around us, to try to give back. And one of the reasons that this month of Ramadan is a month that we wanted to host this iftar, partly it is because we are coming together to break our fast, but there's a deeper meaning and a deeper kind of mission around that as well. And I think it's something that is summed up well in the Quran, our holy book. In the second chapter, verse 183, I'll just recite the English. It says, "O you who believe, fasting has been made obligatory upon you, as it was made obligatory upon those before you, that you may become righteous or pious." And so a lot of our actions around the month of Ramadan, including the fasting that we're doing, is to try to increase our righteousness, our piety, and there are a lot of ways that we are trying to do that. And those are some of the programs that we have here, and all of the missions, kind of the values that I mentioned, are part and parcel of our daily programs, whether it's lectures, whether it's supplications, whether it's communal worship, whether it's the breaking the fast together, where we can come together, we can see our fellow community members and congregants, and then also open it up in events like this, where we can invite others and have them share with us in these types of events. And I think one of the other things that's a positive that we have been trying to do is try to give back to the community, and we've been doing that in the month of Ramadan. We have a food drive that we've been doing, collecting for one of the local food pantries, but also throughout the year, whether it's blood drives, whether it's helping refugees, whether it's participating in the annual spring kind of planting sessions in our local parks. All of these are different types of things that we're trying to do to try to make sure that whatever benefits we're getting from this house of worship is also being seen by our broader community, and so that we benefit as our community benefits. And we have many city officials here, so they've always been great partners, and we hope that they feel the same way about us. And also, one of the last things I wanted to say in terms of contributions, this building was very purposely built, and Imam Faizi has a very aesthetic eye, and he always wanted to make sure that this building contributed positively from an aesthetic perspective to our community as well. And a few months ago, we were actually chosen by WTTW, our local PBS affiliate, to be a part of a documentary that they did on the most beautiful places in Chicago. So we were chosen as one of the 5 or 6 houses of worship in the greater Chicago area. And if anyone does want to see the documentary, it's actually a very beautiful documentary, especially for those who are in Chicago. It goes through a whole bunch of different, I think 30 or so different places across the city. It's on their website, on the WTT website. Our clip is about a minute, but it was 30 places, 45 minutes, so it can only be so long. But it is a nice documentary, and we were very honored that they chose us. And we hope that we can continue to make contributions aesthetically, but more importantly, ethically, and in a positive way to the broader community. And once again, I thank you all for coming, and I hope to be able to engage in conversation with many of you as the night progresses. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Brother Javad. Our next two speakers are young members of our community. They will be sharing their thoughts and perspectives on the role of Ramadan in our lives. For our first youth speech, I would like to invite Sister Ruqayya Razvi to the podium.
I begin in the name of God, who is most gracious and most merciful. Assalamu alaikum, peace be on you, and good evening. I'd like to welcome you all to our beautiful mosque, well, at least the banquet hall part of it, and soon you'll get to enjoy the beautiful upstairs prayer hall as well. My name is Ruqayya Razvi, and I have been a part of the Beit al-Ilm community for as long as I can remember. I'm currently a senior at Barrington High School, and I will soon be attending the University of Houston this fall to study architecture. Part of my inspiration for becoming an architect was this very building that I grew up in. I'm honored for the opportunity to speak tonight representing the youth group of our masjid. Tonight is one of the last few nights of the blessed month of Ramadan, a month where we fast from all intake of food and drink from dawn to sunset. In about like an hour and a half or ish, it'll probably feel like 3 hours. But Ramadan time works in mysterious ways. But you'll have the opportunity to join us for our prayer in our prayer hall, and then join us in breaking our fast. I will share with you today my findings and thoughts on the shared roots of fasting within the Abrahamic faiths and also in other religious traditions. But first, I'd like to recite a verse from the glorious Quran that directs us toward fasting and its purpose. Bismillahir Rahmanir Rahim. Ya ayyuhalladhina amanu kutiba alaykumus siyamu kama kutiba alal ladhina min qablikum la'allakum tattaqun. O you who believe, fasting is prescribed for you as it was prescribed for those before you, that you may develop God consciousness. Chapter 2, verse 183. What I would like to direct your attention to today are in this verse of the Holy Quran is the phrase, fasting was prescribed for you as it was prescribed for those before you. As you can see from this verse, fasting was not a new concept in Islam. Fasting was mentioned in other holy scriptures before the Quran was revealed to our Prophet Muhammad and his peace be upon him and his family. Although I'm not an expert on the other faiths, my research led me to some fascinating information about fasting in other faiths, including Judaism, Christianity, Hinduism, and Buddhism as well. Examples of fasting in the Jewish tradition can be seen in the fast of Yom Kippur. The idea is that fasting is a way to atone for sins and seek forgiveness, just as it is in Islam. I also learned that Prophet Moses, peace be upon him, fasted for 40 days at Mount Sinai before God spoke to him, and that is where he received the 10 Commandments and the Torah. Similarly, Christians fast during Lent to deepen their connection with God and practice self-discipline and inner reflection. It is said that Jesus, God's peace be upon him, fasted for 40 days before he received the gospel. But what was most fascinating to me in my research was that all three of these scriptures, the Quran, the Torah, and the gospel, were all revealed in the holy month of Ramadan. We further see that fasting has been practiced in other world religions as well, like Hinduism and Buddhism. But regardless of the format of fasting, which can differ between the religions, they're all linked to self-restraint, prayers, atonement, and connecting with our one universal creator. You know, all the easy stuff, but no, it's not easy. The common thread being the spiritual upliftment of a person's soul by rising beyond our everyday needs and connecting with our higher power, which is God. Similarly, fasting for me is not just does not just have social or physical benefits. It's a way for me to seek a closer relationship with my Lord. Through giving up food and lots of sleep, I feel I can connect with something much higher than myself and thus purify my mind, body, and soul. But fasting in Islam is much more than just giving up food or drink. It is a time for reflection to glorify and thank God for his favors and blessings. Our prophet emphasized the practice of charity, feeding of the hungry, refraining from anger, slander, and backbiting during this blessed month of Ramadan. The shared importance and purpose of fasting in our Abrahamic faiths and other world religions is one of the connections we can establish in fostering an understanding between each other. It is my hope that this interfaith gathering will bring an opportunity for us to come closer and focus on the common values we all share together. I'd like to thank you all for taking time out of this evening to join us in attending this event and breaking fast with us. I hope you enjoy the rest of the evening with us in the delicious food, which we'll be eating hopefully soon. May God bless you and your community, and may we continue to strive towards unity and understanding. Thank you again, and peace be with you.
Thank you, Sister Ruqayya. Sister Ruqayya also leads a youth group at Baitul Ilm with the goal of creating an environment that fosters self-growth and strengthens community ties rooted in the teachings of the Quran. For our next youth speech, I would like to invite Brother Ayan Naqvi to the podium.
Dear distinguished guests, elders, and brothers and sisters, Assalamu alaikum, or peace be unto you. My name is Ayan Naqvi, and I am a sophomore at Stevenson High School. When I sit at the lunch table with my friends and they see me eating nothing, they always ask, why? And I tell them that it's the month of Ramadan. But after I tell them this, it's always the same questions that follow. You can't eat or drink for 30 days? Can you at least drink water? What if you get hungry? Can you eat then? And I can understand why they ask that. I mean, imagine if you ate lunch with your best friend every day and you didn't know a thing about Ramadan. Imagine one day they just stopped eating, like out of nowhere. Wouldn't you find that kind of weird? So that got me thinking, what even is the point of Ramadan? Why do we as Muslims choose to participate in it? To many people, Ramadan may just seem like a time to fast, but it is way more than that. Ramadan is a time for self-reflection, togetherness, and the expression of gratitude for the things in our lives. The most important thing for me personally is that it teaches discipline. Fasting allows us to control our desires instead of them controlling us. You learn it when you wake up super early at the beginning of the fast and refrain from eating or drinking anything from dawn to dusk. During our fast, the thought of eating and drinking lingers constantly at the back of our minds, but we have to keep those desires at bay. In addition to restraint with food, we demonstrate restraint in many other ways through consciously trying to strive to be the best versions of ourselves. So for example, this restraint could be holding our tongues and not speaking ill of others, not listening to anything bad, not watching anything bad, and finally, not wasting our time and focusing on the things most important to us. Ramadan also allows you to practice thankfulness for all the things that you have. Because let's be real for a second, most of us are very lucky individuals in the sense that we don't have to worry about whether we will have enough food to put on the table tonight. But when we fast, we are reminded of the people who are in those situations where they can't get enough clean food or water. And when we are reminded of that, we can start to be thankful to God for blessing us with such things. And for those who are in those situations, well, Ramadan helps us empathize with those facing such hardships, and it teaches us to be more generous than in any other month. During this month, we make conscious efforts to donate money to various charities. For example, here at Bet Ilm, as it was stated before, we host food drives during this month. Along with that, Ramadan is also a month of togetherness. Not only are we encouraged to strengthen our bonds with our communities, but our own families as well. Because as we fast, guess what? We aren't alone. We have our entire families doing the same things as us. Because of this, we can bond with each other in ways not possible in any other month. From helping our family prepare food to helping our younger siblings learn the Quran, this month provides these opportunities to us to connect with each other and become stronger as a result. Personally, for me, Ramadan is like a 30-day boot camp where I keep assessing, how am I doing in terms of my personal values? Am I still on track? Am I exceeding expectations, or do I need more improvement? So, as we continue forward throughout this month, let us not only practice these habits during Ramadan, but to also apply them to our everyday lives and practice them in every month of the year, not just in Ramadan, Muslim or non-Muslim. And with that said, I'd like to say that it's honestly an honor to be presenting in front of all of you today. Thank you all for taking time out of your days for being here and for being such a good audience. Let us all achieve our goals and aspirations and lead healthy and safe lives, not just in this month, but for the rest of our lives. Thank you.
Ahsant. Thank you, Brother Ayan. Our next speaker is Imam Amir Mukhtar Faizi. Imam Faizi is the founder of Baitul Ilm. I would now like to invite Imam Faizi to come to the podium.
Assalamu alaikum and good evening, everyone. Peace be with you, and very, very warm welcome at Baitul Ilm, the house of God, the house of worship, and the house of community. God doesn't live in these houses. God's houses are for His people. People are the one that who come and live and use these houses of worship and these houses of God. As an imam and clergyman, I'm requested to say a few words about the month of Ramadan and fasting in Islam. Although our young speakers have covered mostly about this month of Ramadan and the practices of Ramadan and benefits of Ramadan, but I will inshallah say a few words. But first, the name of religion, the name of our religion is Islam. And nearly 2 billion people who follow this beautiful religion are called Muslim. So Islam is the name of religion, and those who adhere this religion, they are called Muslim. And plural is of course Muslims. And these approximately 2 billion Muslims live everywhere, in every country and in every continent. You will find Muslims around the globe, and you will find Muslims speaking any language, and they come from every ethnic background, and they or participating in every local culture or in every local custom. Islam believes in the sense of community. Islam encourages to build the community and then to participate in the community and serve the community and to develop that spirit of community. And that's why this word ummah you will hear a lot when in Muslim terminology the word ummah means community. So this worldwide community of Muslims is celebrating this month of Ramadan, which is almost now ending. Most probably we will be celebrating our Eid on Friday. The word Islam, since it is an Arabic word, so let me translate it, and in English we will say to submit. Al-Islam mean to submit, i.e. to submit to the will and the command of Almighty God. That is actually Islam in the essence, that you submit and you surrender to the will and to the command and to the guidance and to the message of your Lord, your God. And God has always sent His guidance and His message to all people and in all the times. From the time God placed the first couple on this earth, He started sending His messages, His divine guidance, and His teachings and His messages from Adam and Eve. And then no matter how much we as human beings were unkind and ungrateful, but He kept His word that He will keep guiding and He will keep caring. And He will keep guiding us and He will keep sending us His messages and He will never abandon us. Although at many times humanity abandoned the God, but God never abandoned His creatures. He loves His creatures. God is all love and all mercy. And He never abandons His servants or the people, even if they don't remember Him or even if they don't do what they are supposed to do. So, God sent His messages through His messengers and through revealed books. You just heard that when Ruqayya Razavi was saying that we as Muslims, and this is what we have in our records, in our Islamic records, that all revealed books were revealed in the same month of Ramadan, whether it was Torah, whether it was Bible, and whether it was Quran, whether this was Zabur to the David. All revelation came in this month, and why I will explain at the end. This is a very special month in eyes of God, Ramadan. So He sent His messages through Adam, Noah, Abraham, Ishmael, Isaac, Jacob, the other name Israel, Joseph, David, Solomon, Moses, Jesus, and Muhammad. These are only a few names of the messengers of God. This messengerhood starts from the beginning of the first man who come on the earth, and then it continued until the Prophet Muhammad, and all these the names which I mentioned, these were the special envoys, special representatives, and special messengers of God for entire humankind. And of course they were given the guidance and the books by God, And these, all of them, they came with the same purpose and with the same message. Islam is not claiming that it is totally a new or different religion. Islam is a continuation of the God's religion, which has been there before, in the time of Jesus, in the time of Moses, in the time of Abraham, in the time of Noah, in the time of Adam. This is same one religion with the same purpose, connecting the mankind with its creator and building the character of mankind, caring about its character and raising him to the highest moral values. Governments, politicians, and businesses and corporations are very important for humanity, and they are supposed to do their job. But when it comes to building the character of people and keeping them honest with their God and with fellow creatures and fellow family members and community, and keeping them in the spirit of serving the humanity with humility, that is something that only it comes from religion. Religion is a positive force, an essential entity in a society. And the reason that we are doing this interfaith is that we believe that all these religious traditions are actually coming from the same stream, from the same source, and they have so much in common. They have so much in common that they need to sit together, they need to meet with one another, they need to share their spirit and their faith and their experience with one another to make each other's job easier. None of us alone can reach out to entire humanity. Judaism, Christianity, Islam, and other religions, all of them, they are everywhere. But again, none of them can claim that they alone can reach out to every human being living around the globe. So all of us, we need to have a sense of partnership. And we should have this sense of this mission, that we are spreading the word of God. And this word of God also, when people don't read these scriptures, they think they are too different from one another. But I will recommend you that please take the time and sometime you look at Torah, look at the Bible, look at the Quran. Read these books and have a comparative study of these scriptures. And you will see that so much is in common. The names, the stories, the events, teachings, values, they are so much which are found in all these books. So we need to know each other better. We need to introduce ourselves to one another and then share our books with one another, share our resources with one another, share our resources with one another, and build this a worldwide community of faith, a community that which is loyal to God, obedient to God, and has great sense of responsibility toward God, but also with the fellow creatures, with the fellow human beings, and work together to establish the peace and justice which are the two important parts of our religion. Peace, even greeting is peace, that peace be with you. And the greeting of peace, and one of the names of God is As-Salam, the peace. He is the true peace. He is the source of peace. He is the giver of peace. And then it is that peace can be established only if there is a justice and if there is no discrimination, which is again a big problem everywhere in every society. So, the spirit of Ramadan is a month, special month of spirituality. It is a spring of spirituality, and it motivates us, and it raises and elevates our spirit. When we focus, when we fast, fasting makes us little bit like it is like angels in one aspect. Angels don't eat, at least according to our understanding. Angels don't eat, they don't drink. They are beyond these materialistic needs. They don't have anger, they don't fight, they don't do those kind of things. They are holy. So when in this month of Ramadan, when we fast, in a way we try to emulate those angels and try to 1 month live a life of angels, a life of love, a life of piety, a life of discipline and the obedience to God. So, this month of Ramadan charges our battery, our spirituality, and it makes us able to continue this spiritual life until next month of Ramadan. So this is the significance of the month of Ramadan. When we fast, fasting teaches us patience. You know, one of the biggest problem which we face is not having patience. So, and particularly in this day and age, we need more patience because everything is by the push of button. And everything is by push of button, and we get so much used to with that if things don't happen as we want, we lose patience. Patience, controlling anger, controlling our greed, controlling our low desires, controlling this sense of domination and monopoly and control over everything and everyone. These are the big diseases of society. If you see whatever these wars, these bloodsheds, all this fuss and all these problems which we see from local town to the international level, because of greed, because of arrogance, because of this domination, the control over everything and everyone, this is the root of all that. One remedy to all those problems is self-control, humility, and this sense of contentment. And that comes from fasting. When we fast, we are content. When we fast, we have control over ourselves. We develop more patience. We suppress the greed and the desires, the low desires. It's a very empowering experience. It's empowering experience that you can take this challenge and then you can manage this challenge. And by the grace of Allah, in our community, people in their 70s and 80s, they are still fasting. And we have kids, even if they are not obligated to fast at the age 7 or 8 or 9, but they are fasting. And they are all well. They are going to school, they are going to college, they are going to university, they are working. And this is the blessing of month of Ramadan. And these are a few benefits which we derive from the fasting. And by the way, fasting is also a practice which was part of Judaism, which was part of Christianity, which was part of many other faith traditions. And this is not again something which only Islam introduced. Yes, Islam introduced it in this particular way where you have to fast for entire 1 month with all these rules and laws, but fasting is again a shared practice and a shared tradition among all these religions sent by God. Thank you very much for coming, and thank you very much for listening.
Thank you, Imam Faizi. Our next speaker is Father Tony Teixeira. Father Tony Teixeira is a retired priest of the Diocese of Joliet. He completed his last pastorate at Mary, Queen of Heaven Parish in Elmhurst. He graduated with the Bachelor of Arts from Conception Seminary in Missouri, Master of Divinity from St. Minrat Seminary, Master of Arts from Indiana University, and a Doctor of Ministry from Mundelein Seminary. Father Tony speaks fluent Spanish, is an adoptive father and grandfather. I would like to invite Father Tony to the podium.
Thank you very much. This indeed is an honor. It really is. I have no trouble taking my shoes off because I'm on holy ground right now. And in the moment that we walked onto this ground, we felt the presence of the radical hospitality of the daughters and sons of Abraham. We are all daughters and sons of Abraham. We have so much in common. We need to celebrate that every way that we can. And I want to begin. I had my first pastorate was in an all-rural black community. It was the largest rural black community north of the Mason-Dixon line at the time. They began every sentence exactly the same way our Muslim brothers and sisters begin every sentence. The first thing they say out of their mouth is giving honor to God. Giving honor to God. And I heard every speaker come up here tonight begin with praise be to Allah, praise be to God, the all-merciful, the all-compassionate. If we do not have the same basis, then we have nothing to say to each other. We have the same basis. Hear, O Israel, your God is one. There is no God but God. Muhammad is a prophet of God, or the prophet of God. But there is only one God. We've got this incredible basis from which to work on. The God that I worship is the God that the Imam worships. The God that I bow before is the God that we are all called to bow before. So we come together this night to literally bow to the divine in each other, because the divine is in each and every one of us. And we have so much in common. I was talking to my daughter, as it was mentioned, I've got two adopted children, a Vietnamese daughter and a Mexican son. My Vietnamese daughter works with many Somali women. And she says, don't forget to mention the fact, Father, that the Muslims love Mary. And so when I heard the first reading today out of the Quran, and I heard him sing, and young man, wherever you are, you've got the voice of an angel. He was singing, and I could have been back in my young seminary years listening to the young choir monks sing Gregorian chant. There are some things that transcend the mind. As a matter of fact, the mind is what gets us in trouble. You know? The blacks have a saying that the mind is a terrible thing to waste, and I always say that the waste is a terrible thing to mind. And she says, because they love the Blessed Mother, and she says, and most of my Somali mothers are named Miriam. We have many, many, many Miriams, many Marys. And the love of mother is something that we all share. As a matter of fact, I'm here tonight basically because Dr. Buhari is my mother's gastroenterologist when she was dying in Kankakee, and took care of her like his mother. Like his mother. What I experienced when I first stepped on this campus tonight, on this sacred ground tonight, was radical hospitality. And Abraham was the man of radical hospitality, engaging in strangers. Oh, no. Not engaging in strangers, engaging in the presence of the divine. You know, the subject I've been given to speak of tonight is to speak of a dialogue, the Christian-Muslim dialogue. I'd like to expand that into the Christian, Jewish, Muslim, human dialogue, to talk to each other. And if there was ever a time that we needed to talk, it's now. But much more than talk. Giving a monologue is no big deal. Everybody wants to give you a piece of their mind. It's very easy to talk past someone. And the reason it's so easy is because we've got something in our mind that we want to give. I want to get something off my mind. I want to give it to you. I want you to hear it. The difficulty is I spend so much time trying to figure out what I'm going to say back to you that I never hear a word you say. Emerson once says, "Who you are speaks so loudly, I can't hear a word you say." So if there's to be a dialogue, the first thing that has to stop is the monologue. You know, there's an old saw that says that we have 2 ears and 1 mouth. And the reason for that is we are to hear twice as much as we speak. And we cannot ever hear if we are constantly talking. Our Pope Francis right now is having what's called a synod on synodality. And a synod is simply a listening session. Who the Catholic Church is finally listening to is women. And it's about time. We are now listening to each other. And as we listen to each other, we begin to learn. But there are some things that keep us from hearing. We have some obstacles keeping us from hearing. There's an old joke about a fellow who walks into a room and he's got a banana in his ears. And they say, "Hey, Joe, you got a banana in your ear." He says, "I can't hear you. I got a banana in my ear." I didn't say it was a good joke. I said it was an old joke. The first thing you need to do if you want to hear is remove the obstacles from hearing, to clear our ears. If you want to see, the sight is natural. We are born to see. But if we have an obstacle, if we've got blinders on, if we've got myopic blinders on, if we're the horse walking down the street and we can't see to the right or the left, all I can see is before me, I can't see at all. So I need to remove the obstacles that keep me from seeing. But the number one obstacle from keeping us from communicating with each other, and I really think it's a terrible obstacle that's keeping us from communicating, is our mindset. We're caught in a mindset. We're caught in a narrative. We're caught in stories. Each of our traditions have been giving us some magnificent stories, beautiful stories, and they make sense for us. But sometimes we think it's the only story. There is no other story. It's my way or the highway. And of course, once we get caught in that mindset, it's almost impossible to get out of it. We're like the guy who comes to work today and he opens up his lunch and he says, "Another cheese sandwich yesterday, cheese sandwich the day before, cheese sandwich, cheese. I'm so sick and tired of cheese sandwiches." The guy says, "Well, tell your wife to make something different." He says, "What wife? I make them myself." That's getting caught in a mindset. It's very easy to get caught in our mindsets. The professor is giving a lecture on fertilizer, and he says, "I have found that the very best fertilizer is aged manure." And the student raises her hand and she says, "But how old should the horse be?" Yeah. We are like ships in the night. We pass each other and we do not connect. We are called to connect, and here's how we connect. Go deep. If your tradition is Jewish, go deep into the Torah. If your tradition is Christianity, go deep into the Holy Scriptures, into the Bible. If your tradition is Muslim, go deep into the Quran. Know your stories well. Not to protect them, not to fight them, not to say that my way is the only way. You see, that's where we get in big trouble. You see, if you go deep in your tradition, everything that rises must converge. Everything that goes deep, when we get down to the core, and the Iman said it so beautifully tonight. What's at the core? What's at the core of every human being? Mercy, forgiveness, love. That's the core of God. Our teaching says that God is love. And God's love was incarnate in Jesus, incarnate in Moses, incarnate in Muhammad, incarnate in each and every one of us. We firmly believe that the Spirit of God dwells in us, spoke to the prophets. And the words sometimes just get us in trouble, because sometimes we don't, no matter how good or articulate we may think we are, we miss the point. And if we get caught in our stories, we really miss this point. I told you I was the pastor of an African-American community, and I always had young people living in my household, sometimes as much as 7 or 8 at one time. And one time I had a young black man named Harold and a young white student, former seminary student of mine named Lewis. And they were in the same room, and they were sleeping on bunk beds. And Lewis was there first, so he was going to sleep on the top bed. Harold said, I want the top bed. I said, well, Harold, Lewis was here first. He says, no, I have to sleep on the top bed. I said, well, Harold, Lewis was here first. He says, no, I will never be able to sleep if I'm on the bottom bunk. I said, why? He said, well, all white people have lice, don't they? I said, I'm bald. Show it to me. All. What's the killer word? All. All. We glob every different group as one. All black people are what? Finish the sentence. All Catholics are. When I grew up in a public school in a very Protestant town. I grew up in Wheaton, which was the buckle in the Bible Belt. And as a little Catholic boy, all of my classmates kept on saying, Tony, where in the confessional is the little slot where they put the money to get their sins forgiven? They believe that. Or where's the arsenal for when you guys take over? They believe that. All Catholics, all Jews are. All Muslims are. Finish a sentence. Doesn't finish very beautifully, does it? We've got to get out of that mindset. We are all, if we are all anything, if we are all one thing, we're the daughters and sons of God. That's what we all are. And we're not that different. The Dalai Lama came to Iceland, and they say he got off the airplane, went down, knocked on the microphone. He says, may I have your attention, please? May I have your attention, please? I want to make an announcement. Nobody wants to suffer. Everybody wants to be happy. Thank you very much. Got on the plane and flew away. Nobody wants to suffer. We endure the cross. We endure the suffering that comes into our life. We submit to it, as the Imam said so beautifully. His line was submission. The line that I was taught by the African American community that taught me everything I need to know about God was this: let go. Let go and let God. If there is anything that you need to know that. Let go and let God. So the Dalai Lama speaks that, and what he's saying is, I know you. You see that stranger walking on the street? You're just like me. You don't want to suffer, and you want to be happy. Now, when you get that down, you can work on people who are a little bit closer, and some of the family members, the ones we haven't talked to. Uncle Leo, whom we haven't talked to in 5 years. Uncle Leo, I know you. You're just like me. You don't want to suffer, and you want to be happy. That's what we are called to do, to discover who we deeply are in God. There's a knock on the door. It's a stranger. I don't answer. There's a knock on the door. It's my neighbor. And I say, who is it? It's your neighbor, and I want to come in. I don't answer. There's a knock on the door. Who is it? I'm your brother. I'm too caught up in my own world. I don't answer. There's a knock on the door. I get up. I say, who is it? The voice says, I'm you. I get up to answer. I'm you. I'm one with you. We share a common father, a common mother. We may call it by many different names. We may call it Yahweh. We may call him Allah. We may call him Abba. We may even call him Amma, call her Amma. For in God's image we are created, male and female. We are created in the image of God. If we are the spitting image of God, then it is time for us to act that way. That's what dialogue is all about. That's what the talking is all about. In a few moments, we're going to break fast. And I don't know how the speakers have been able to speak up here with the smells that are emanating from this back door. I don't know how you are able to fast at all. But it is worth the wait. Why? What is the greatest communion? The greatest communion is breaking bread with brothers and sisters, sharing a meal with one another. When you are invited to the table, you are invited to the most intimate thing you can possibly do, and you have invited us to your table. And we are honored beyond words. I want to leave you with the words of Abraham Heschel, the marvelous Jewish rabbi, who was asked by his students, how could we tell when the night is ended and the day was on its way? Could it be, asked one student, when you see an animal in the distance and can tell whether it is a sheep or a dog? No, answered the teacher. Could it be, another said, when you look at a tree in the distance and you can tell whether it is a fig tree or a peach tree? No, he said. The teacher, then what is it? The pupils demanded. It is when you look at the face of any woman or any man and see that she or he is your sister or brother, because if you cannot do this, no matter what time it is, it's still night. The sun is about to set. The light is about to turn on. Let's talk.
Thank you, Father Tony. It was an honor and truly a pleasure to listen to those words, guidance, and insights. We are approaching the time for prayer. I would like to invite our final speaker, Dr. Sayyid Saeed Bukhari, to say a few words.
Assalamu alaikum, and I'll try to keep it very short and simple. We are really grateful to all of our honorable guests for gracing our mosque with their presence. There's a long list of people to thank. However, as most of our congregation has been fasting all day, they will not appreciate it if I prolong their fast even longer. So first and foremost, we express our gratitude and humility to Almighty Allah for allowing us to come together and for sharing our common values with people of faith. We thank Him for His grace and for providing us the sustenance that we'll always enjoy. We also thank Prophet Muhammad and his holy progeny for teaching us to appreciate our friends and neighbors. Our heartfelt gratitude also goes to Madam President. Is she here of Streamwood? Okay, of the village of Streamwood for gracing this occasion. Also, village trustee Mary Thorne, village manager Sharon Carrigan, assistant manager Lisa Shiner, village chief of police Sean Taylor, I know they are here, and village fire chief Mike Mayer, village clerk Kitty Kopetki, deputy police chief Josh Noram, and deputy fire chief Joe Mikowski. We really appreciate your presence here among us. We are also very grateful to Father Tony Tusheta, my old friend, and for being here among us tonight. He has been a long-time supporter of our congregation, and if you recall, before this beautiful mosque was built, we had a time where we needed his help, and he offered his church, and where we had our services for a couple of times. I really personally am very indebted to his kindness and friendship. We thank the members of Ismaili and Bora communities who are here and welcome them to our mosque as fellow Muslims. We are also very appreciative of the members of the Rotary Club of Barrington for their presence. A big thank you to the members of Emmanuel Christian Church of Streamwood who have been our guests in the past at similar events. We appreciate your friendship. There are many others who have joined us tonight, and we are glad you are here among friends. Last but not the least, we acknowledge Imam Sheikh Faizi for his guidance, sincerity, and vision for bringing this community together to a higher level of spiritual awareness, and dedication for developing Baitul Ilm into one of the premier places among houses of worship. We also want to thank all of our volunteers who spend countless hours in giving their best time and efforts, not only for tonight's event, but throughout the year. We value their service and selfless dedication. Thank you very much, and we are heading out for the Maghrib prayer upstairs. Please, ushers, help the guests to go up, and then we will come down for dinner after the Maghrib prayer is over. If you are if you are interested in staying down here, that's fine, but you're certainly welcome to come up to the mosque. Thank you very much, and God bless you all.
I would kindly request the community members to please be seated. At this time, we will first ask our guests to proceed upstairs. If our volunteers could stand up and guide the guests to the prayer hall.